this is the thing when we talk about what is moral. So that, quite often they'll say, well, the thing you're describing, that's all well and good, but it's not morality. Fine, then I don't care about morality.
Damn! I'm not going to sit here and try to prove to you some God of the Bible or some Jesus Christ.
Well, of course not. You're clearly standing, dude. That's just a classic apologist blunder right there. Much like the guy who can't tell if he's urinating or ejaculating. They just don't know if they're coming or going. Or standing and sitting in this case. But I'm glad you aren't going to even try and prove God. That would be a really silly thing to do. But that is only because he's not real, obviously.
What I am going to try to prove to you is that we need to believe in a creator.
You're going to prove that, are you? Well, I don't know how you're going to do that, because here I am, sat not believing in any kind of creator, and yep, still here, did not disappear into a puff of logic. So it kind of disproves the very notion of needing to do so on the face of it. But I guess we will just have to wait and see what possible reasons he has for claiming such a thing. Hopefully it's not something really, really stupid that clearly shows he has no idea what he's talking about. That would be embarrassing, but only for how often these guys do exactly that.
Because the idea that we did all this on our own and that we can decide a moral structure on our own.
We did all of what on our own? Like, seriously, that is so broad, it's tantamount to saying nothing. No non-believer that I know of, and isn't some actual crazy person, thinks that humans had any impact on the universe beyond the surface of the ball of dirt they are currently stuck to. And even then, wipe them all out, and likely no one or no thing that comes after will even know they were there in some amount of years. But the things humans have done, including religion's mind, they absolutely fucking did. You know how we know that? Because we've seen them do that shit. And that includes making moral frameworks. And that's all of them, including the ones that pretend that God did it.
Is not logical. And even in the clip I just showed you, Matt Dillahunty, one of the top atheist humanists of the time right now,
Top atheist? But he's not even me. And what about that clip is a problem exactly? I can't say he said anything that I have a particular problem with, but I was actually listening to what he said and have the cognitive capacity to understand it, so I can see why others might be having difficulty.
It admits the fact that morals don't even really matter.
That is not what he said, in the context of that clip, at least. He seems to be talking about other people telling him what he means by morality is not morality. Thus, whatever their thing is not something he considers morality either. Therefore, either throw the word away or perhaps simply, if we can't agree on what morality looks like, what are we even talking about at this point? But it is at least very clear if your takeaway from it is anything other than Matt, at the very least, has got some sort of personal morality, then you must be a fucking moron. Now, maybe there's more context that changes the meaning, but considering you chose not to provide it, it either doesn't exist or makes your point significantly fucking worse.
The only reason why atheists or humanists pretend to have morals.
Oh wow, fuck you, dude. Atheists pretend to have morals. Yeah, no, the atheists, they're just pretending that they have any sort of morality because of how evil and God-hating pieces of shit they are. And that might not be what you specifically mean, but implication is a hell of a drug. But no, atheists aren't pretending shit. As a whole, the morality that any individual might have is just as real as yours. Probably more so, because I don't know about you specifically, but the amount of theists who say, if there am no God, me-am will do all the murders. Hence, they are literally pretending to have morals, because they don't want to get into trouble with God. That's very telling.
Is because if they admitted to everybody that they don't, then you'd realize how terrible this idea really is.
Oh man, it's almost like they do and you haven't got a fucking clue what you're talking about. I mean, first, that Matt clip with you having no idea what it means when someone clarifies a point. And now you think that atheists are just pretending to have morals because what? Like seriously, even if they had nothing but bad morals, if all they wanted to do was eat babies and kill people, guess what? That would still be morals, you dumb asshole. And good ones too. Babies are delicious and humans are awful.
And this dumb idea that atheism or humanism or any anti-God belief system.
Calling atheism anti-God isn't even that accurate as well. It's more betterer to say that it's godless, at least by default. Because while sure, there are anti-theist atheists, but not all of them. Most don't really give a shit about whatever gods. It's a personal understanding of the world. And even the people who do care about religions care a lot more about what the people in it do and say, because they are what have an actual effect on the world, which is weird when you consider God's supposed to be doing stuff, but apparently needs his drones to do it for him, almost like he can't do anything, almost like he's big fake.
Works in a world where morals are expected just doesn't make any sense.
What exactly makes you think morals are expected? Morals are a thing that happens because, people more or less invented them and do them and use them to be extremely successful from an evolutionary standpoint. But it's like saying you expect cars to exist because, people are driving in them all the time, so they must be an intrinsic part of the fabric of reality. No, that's not how that works. Morals, at least by my lights, are subjective and only happen because of how people evolved to use and understand them. The same way that cars came to be because people invented them, and now everyone for the most part has some concept of what they are and how they work. But only an idiot would think that that means they're expected to exist. It doesn't make sense to you because you're kind of a dumbass, basically.
2 + 2 = 4 is the analog of all human beings are worthy of provision and protection. All of them. Right? Would you agree with that? All members of the human family, no matter what their achievements, no matter what their attributes, all members of the human family are worthy of all provision and protection.
I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
People who believe in a creator believe that human beings have value.
Not all of them, and I'm talking about the claim of people believing that because they believe in creators. There's plenty of religious worldviews that basically say humans are worthless scum, others that make no real judgment at all, and others still that say that unless they do something specific, they have no value at all. And to the other point, no, none of them. They're the worst and should be ashamed of themselves, and probably on fire.
And we're seeing that atheism and humanism and all this non-belief crap can't even tell you if human beings have value or not.
Do you genuinely believe that because one fucking person says that he can't answer that applies to all atheists? You really are one of the dumbest motherfuckers ever. First off, Matt Dillahunty is not the fucking Pope of atheism. And if he thinks he is, I'm sorry to have to break the news to him. Although, come on, he knows. I'm the Pope of atheism. But much like the Pope of whatever that other thing is called, there's a shitload of people who don't fucking agree with him on basically anything aside from a handful of ideas. So to think that you can make this claim about all of us based on one of us shows that you have no idea how fucking people work, let alone atheism, theism, or any frigging worldview whatsoever.
But at the same time telling us they have morals and they have a whole belief system that tells us how we should live our lives.
Fucking yeah, duh. Atheists do have those things. Again, they're called worldviews. And shock fucking horror, they aren't all the same as each other because atheism isn't a freaking monolith. If a person identifies as an atheist, it doesn't mean anything other than they don't think that gods are real. Anything else is up in the air. They can be humanist. They can be nihilists, which are not the same thing before you ignorantly start spewing nonsense again. Hell, they can be fucking religious. They could be Satanists. They could be Buddhist. Both of those have forms that have no deities. Therefore, are atheistic by definition. And there are various claims about the value of humans in all of those. Go figure. You're wrong again. Beginning to see a pattern yet, mate?
You have to point to something where they're adding value to society.
Is that what so they have to achieve? They have to add value. But they don't have value.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying when I say that there's no intrinsic value to it, but that I value.
So in other words,
I don't know what your other words are going to be, but Matt isn't saying that no, they don't have value, but merely that the value humans have is subject to other humans. If there weren't any humans, then there would be no one in the universe saying, oh yeah, and don't forget how humans have value, because that's such a fact. Even though they got wiped out by a giant space ass that came out of nowhere, no one saw it coming, because of course they didn't. That's not where cum comes from, numbnuts.
If Matt Dillahunty or other humanists like him or atheists or just non-believers, because that's really what they are, is just non-believers.
Fucking hell, get to the point and just say atheists. We all know what you generally are getting at when you use that word. Well, everyone who isn't you, because I'm not convinced that you could define your way out of a wet paper bag. But that is only because of how smart you are. And I wonder if he understands that is simply not praise. Probably not. Again, because of how smart he is
that all of these non-believers, then they decide whether you add value to the system or not.
No, fuckwit. First off, the point that he makes, and you can't understand, is that humans aren't intrinsically valuable, but they are valuable to one another, so they try to treat them as such. But humanity, at an individual level, doesn't behave like that. And even the ones who pretend, no, my religion means me and believe all the humans am super special, it's extremely rare that that plays out in the real world. For most people, the only ones that matter to them are the ones they know and care about. Or are you going to tell me that you genuinely give a shit about some dude in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and that they have as much value to you as your wife or your kids or your parents or whatever? No, of course not. But a just society in general will try to make sure that everyone is as well taken care of as possible, regardless of what they contribute. Because that's the thing that humans chose to do. Because enough of them like the idea of as many of them doing as well as possible, ultimately, because it means if they get completely fucked in life, they won't be completely fucked. It's a really good way to make a successful society. And that's not to say they all do an amazing job all the time, but the point is to try. And guess what? There are highly secular nations that do, and they treat people pretty fucking well. No God needed. What a shonk.
And if you don't add value, then they may decide that you're not needed any longer.
Find me an atheist who believes that as part of their worldview, and I will show you an atheist that many, if not most atheists, think is kind of a dickhead. The fact that you are claiming this as some kind of standard view of atheism or humanism or whatever shows you are either far too ignorant to be having this conversation with anyone, or you know that it's bullshit and you are a lying piece of crap. As usual, it's one or the other, and neither is a good look. But at least ignorance means you're not trying to sound like an arsehole. But you do sound like one, nevertheless.
And this is what we've seen over and over and over again with history of atheism.
Have you, or have you seen that with certain worldviews that kind of have atheism as part of them? But that is by far and away not the part of the ideology that allows people to treat people in terrible ways. And are you also trying to deny that there have been many accounts of various religious worldviews that treat members of groups that are outside of their particular ideology just as poorly, including their treatment of atheists? Perhaps the problem isn't atheism or religion, but that some worldviews are shitty and have shitty people in them. Some of them have members who lie about other groups in an attempt to paint them all as monsters. And funnily enough, those people could be considered kind of immoral.
I mean, that's really what Hitler was an atheist, but he pretended, to carry some religion because religion is able to bring people behind it a little bit easier.
Right, so the whole Hitler was an atheist thing. First off, if that's true, so fucking what? I mean, he probably wasn't. He was probably some kind of deist. But still, the idea that he didn't believe whatever, well, his fucking people did. And yet they were the ones carrying out all that shit. They were the ones doing the things that he said. And somehow their religiosity and absolute belief that all humans definitely have value didn't stop them. Or perhaps the idea that humans have intrinsic value isn't something that religion as a concept can lay any kind of claim to. It's like you're trying to prove my fucking points for me. Can you stop it? I have kids to feed. Patreon.com/SirSick. Cough.
Stalin was an atheist who basically made religion illegal. You know, Mao was the same thing. That's what we see from atheists nowadays, is this idea that they want to illegalize religion. They want to abolish it. They want to see it exterminated. These are the words that atheists use, or humanists, whatever you want. It's non-believers.
Again, who? Not fucking Matt. Not me. Not any atheist I have had any sort of extended conversation with. Not anyone that anyone takes seriously wants to exterminate religion. So who has said this? I would love to make fun of them, as I have made fun of you, because I think that person is a short-sighted moron who needs to pull their head out of their arsehole, because religion is never, ever going anywhere. It's just a thing that humans do, and LARPing like you're gonna make it stop is absurd. And if you hear me say this and take personal offense, good! Have better ideas. You're a fucking embarrassment.
As I said. But here we go. They don't even accept the fact that people have value. You have to bring something to the table.
They actually do, but you're either refusing to or are too incompetent to understand the difference between objective and subjective values. That is, value of something as a fact, or value given to it by an agent, in this case other humans. Most atheists believe their fellow humans have subjective value, regardless of the fact that them having value is not in fact a fact. And that doesn't mean that their value judgment just disappears. It just means that if the Earth exploded tomorrow, there's nothing in or likely outside of the universe that's going to give a shit. And that's okay. While reality doesn't do that, humans do, including shonk horonk fucking atheists. Hell, especially fucking atheists. You tried fucking someone who doesn't care about you. It's fucking miserable. Get it?
That is a very dangerous way of thinking about things, because me and believers, we all think that you bring a value to this world regardless of what you bring into it. You just being a human being is the value you bring to this world, and therefore you get to stay alive.
But those atheists, the scum that they are with their dangerous worldview I made up, they want to kill you all if you aren't bringing some nebulous, undefined value to the world. I am definitely not a giant fucking hypocrite spreading actual dangerous misinformation about people. No siree. And let's not forget how often atheists will support various initiatives that are about raising up those quote-unquote, in a very big font, low-value individuals so they can enjoy society the same or as close as possible to the rest of us. Almost like everything you have said here is just total nonsense.
But atheists tend to do this kind of argument where, well, I believe in morals, and I think that we should have a moral structure, and we ought to treat each other a certain way. We ought to do things a certain way.
Yeah, they do that because they fucking believe it. That's what a worldview is. That's how ideologies tend to work. You have a prescriptive view of how the world should work, and then you try and make it happen. That's how atheists do things. That's how theists do things. It's even how fucking morons do things. Except theirs objectively make the world worse, because they don't know enough about it to make anything but horrible things happen. But that doesn't mean I want you dead. It just means I want you to be better. Oh, like I said all along, you massive fucking dumbass.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the